Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly mind-blowing. Imagine a whole city of art, hand-carved into a mountain, a stunning testament to human faith and pure willpower. And then, it just vanished, completely lost to the world for centuries. Yep, for 1,300 years. That's how long this entire complex of temples and monasteries was just gone. Swallowed up by the thick Indian jungle, it was like it never even existed. A whole world of breathtaking art just sitting there, in the dark, waiting. So the big question is, how on earth was this forgotten wonder found again? I mean, how does a world, sealed up for over a millennium, suddenly reappear? Okay, let's get into it. All right, so our story actually starts not in ancient times, but way more recently. We're talking the early 19th century, and it all kicks off with a single British officer who was just out on a pretty routine expedition. So picture this. It's April 28th, 1819. A British officer, John Smith, is out hunting, tracking a tiger along this big horseshoe-shaped gorge. He happens to look up, and through all the leaves and vines, he spots something that just shouldn't be there. The top of a beautifully carved archway, basically an entrance leading right into the cliff face. He had just stumbled upon a lost world. And get this moment perfectly captures when this forgotten civilization slammed back into human history. Smith, probably not even grasping the insane scale of what he'd found, actually carved his name and the date onto a pillar. And that mark is still there today. It's this permanent reminder of this totally random encounter between two completely different worlds. You can imagine, right? This incredible rediscovery brought up a massive question. Who were the masterminds behind this? I mean, who had the vision, the money, and just the sheer grit to carve an entire city out of solid rock? Well, as it turns out, it wasn't some famous king or a single-star architect. The Ajanta Caves were a massive group effort. They were funded by royals and rich merchants, sure, but they were brought to life by the devotion of monks and the unbelievable skill of hundreds of artisans whose names we'll never know. And just try to wrap your head around the scale of this work. Their only tools were simple chisels and hammers. That's it. And with those, they carved into solid basalt rock, not for a year or even a decade, but across two completely separate historical periods that spanned centuries. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because this shows how not just the art evolved, but Buddhist thinking itself. The first phase, way back in the 2nd century BC, was part of the Hinayana tradition. In that tradition, the Buddha was only ever shown as symbols. But then, fast forward nearly 600 years to the second phase, that was the Mahayana school, and they embraced these grand figurative statues of the Buddha that we're all much more familiar with today. So, what did John Smith actually find when he went inside? Well, this wasn't just a random bunch of caves. This was a fully functioning religious and educational hub, a breathtaking gallery literally carved out of a mountain. Okay, so the caves basically had two main purposes. First, you had the chaityas, which are the prayer halls. Think of these as the cathedrals of their time. Huge, vaulted, echoing spaces designed for everyone to worship together. And at the far end, they had a sacred mound, a stupa, which was the absolute focus of all their devotion. And then, to go along with the prayer halls, you had the viharas. These were the monasteries. Essentially, these were the living quarters, lined with these small, simple cells where hundreds of monks would live, study, and meditate, dedicating their entire lives to their spiritual path. But for all the incredible architecture and the amazing sculpture, the real lasting magic of Ajanta is on its walls. These caves are home to some of the absolute finest surviving examples of ancient Indian art anywhere in the world. The artists used a special technique called fresco secco. Basically, they'd grind up minerals, plants, and stones to make pigments and then paint them onto a dry plaster surface. And the stories they were telling? Those were the Jataka tales, these incredibly vibrant, detailed stories of the Buddha's past lives, all designed to teach lessons about morality and compassion. Two of the most iconic paintings, both in Cave 1, really capture the heart of their philosophy. The first one is the Bodhisattva Padmapani. You see him there holding a lotus flower. His downcast eyes, his gentle look, it's the very picture of universal compassion. And then, right near him, you find his opposite number, the Bodhisattva Vajrapani. He looks regal, powerful, and he's holding a thunderbolt. He represents the spiritual strength and the power you need to fight ignorance.
So together, they really represent the two key qualities you need on the path to enlightenment.
So, when you step back from all the incredible art and the mind-boggling effort, what do these caves, this project that took centuries, what do they actually teach us today?
I think the caves really leave us with three huge lessons. First, they are just this incredible testament to human patience and sheer willpower. Second, they show us a time when art, science, and spirituality were all completely woven together. And finally, every single image just radiates the Buddhist central message of ahimsa, or nonviolence, a path of peace.
But you know, the legacy of Ajanta is more than just abstract lessons. It's about a feeling. It's about a direct connection to the actual people who made this incredible place. When you actually stand inside one of these halls, you're not just looking at a cave. You feel this direct, real connection to the patience, the devotion, and the entire worldview of the people who carved these walls 2,000 years ago. It really feels like time just stopped. And all of that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our modern, fast-paced world, with all our disposable stuff and fleeting digital messages, what are we building that will last for thousands of years? What kind of message of peace and patience are we carving into stone for future generations to find?